Hey guys, welcome to Tick Back Time. Today I'm doing a comparison video between the Tudor Black Bay 58 and the Seiko SPB143. My particular variant is the Japanese one, the JDM release, which is the SBDC 101, but they are basically the same watch. So for the individual reviews of these two pieces, please head down to the description box below where you will find the review on the Black Bay 58 as well as the Seiko SPB143. So what do I want to do today? I don't want to get into the technical specifications of these two watches. You can find that out in the videos that I have linked below, or you can just simply do a Google search and it will come out instantly. What I want to do is really compare whether these two watches are comparable, whether they can be replacements for each other, and whether you should have both of them in your collection. So first, let me take a look at the Tudor. The Tudor is a very nice watch, but I have had this watch for around a year, and I have come to understand where it lacks and what are the flaws of the Black Bay 58. And I'm going to share these with you now, because the first thing that I want to point out is that this watch can be pretty uncomfortable for somebody in a humid climate such as mine. I stay in Singapore and the weather is often very humid. So the reason for that is because when you take a look at the case back, it is a flat, plain case back, and the links are also very flat and very smooth. So what that does is that when you wear it on wrist, it sticks to the skin pretty badly, especially when the climate is very warm and humid. It may not be a problem for people coming from colder climates with drier air, but for Singapore, it can get very uncomfortable. I oftentimes feel that this watch is very sticky, and that led me to believe that the watch was not fitting well. But after having this watch for 1 year, I realized that it's not because the watch is too tight or too loose per se, but more so because of that sticky feeling that I get with the flat case back and the very, very smooth underside of the links. So that can be viewed as a pro or a con depending on what you want from your timepiece, because by having this stickiness, it is very difficult for the watch to slide off your wrist. It really sticks to the to the surface of your skin, and it centers itself pretty well. But for me, that's a con, because it really gets uncomfortable in the weather that I'm experiencing now. Another point I want to point out is that the micro adjust holes, the Tudor gives you 3 of them, and you may think that that is sufficient because the links don't look very wide, but you have to take in mind that between the links there's also a gap. So when you add another link in and you put it to the tightest micro adjust, it could feel too loose if you know you needed a little bit more space. So that is something that has been brought up in the watch forums quite repeatedly. And well, Tudor has released the new Tudor Black Bay 58 Bronze with the adjustable clasps. So I'm not sure if that would really solve this problem by giving you a little bit more micro adjust holes. I'm not sure if they do have that, but if they do, I hope it comes to the stainless steel models, which I know that eventually it will. But I also hope that Rolex Service Center RSC will be able to sell you these clasps, and that will really make this watch a whole lot more comfortable for a lot of people out there. So these are the 2 gripes that I have with the bracelet. Other than that, it is a very well-made bracelet. I do not mind the rivets at all, the fake rivets, where some people don't like that sort of aesthetic. Looking at the bezel of the watch, of course, Tudor's bezels are one of the best in the industry. So it's a 60-click bezel with ceramic ball bearings instead of the click springs. So what this means is that the clicks are very nice and very sharp, and of course there is zero backplay, and it lines up perfectly as expected with a watch of this price. So Tudor did that very well. I think they have the best bezels in the industry, hands down. And if you are the kind who loves to play with your bezel, you will definitely not be disappointed with getting a Tudor dive watch. Everything else is of course very well executed. The movement inside is a 70-hour course rated and course certified movement. So that means this watch will be very accurate. For my particular watch, this gets around +1 to +2 seconds a day, so it's well within the course specifications, and I am more than happy with that. So anything else to say about the Black Bay 58? Well, it's a very familiar piece, I'm sure, to a lot of you. Even if you may not own one, you probably have seen countless videos on the Black Bay 58 saying how it is the best watch you can get for your money, and it is the one watch, the only watch you need. And well, my opinions on that is that it is indeed a very pretty, a very lovely looking watch. However, the comfort level could be better. If the comfort level was bumped up by a little bit, I would say that this watch could really be a contender for the best watch that you can buy for the money. The movement is an excellent movement. The finishing is excellent. No alignment issues, no dial issues, no indices issues or handset issues. Everything else is really, really very well made. The crown is easy to turn as well. Of course, there's a sign crown here with the Tudor rose, I believe. Yeah. So that's a nice touch as well. And I guess for the money you're paying, you should demand these things, right? Well, so back to that question on whether this is the watch that you have to pick up, that will really depend on you. If you come from a more humid environment, a more humid country like I do, you may want to take that into consideration. Of course, you can still go ahead and purchase this watch and be very happy with it, but that is something that I want to point out. For me, the sticky feeling wasn't very comfortable. So that really brings me to the Seiko SPB143 or the SBDC101. So let me just give this crystal a quick wipe. So this Seiko, it is also another very, very popular watch. It is quite a new release, but there have been many people saying how awesome this model is, probably due to that 62 mass sort of vibe that this gets. And that skin diver case is also something that many people go for. So when you are comparing between the two, of course, the Seiko is a lot more thicker than the Tudor Black Bay 58. So that's something to take into account. For the bracelet itself, okay, so if you look at the Seiko's case back, it is pretty much the standard case back that they use for almost all their dive watches, with that tsunami logo there in the center. And the links are smooth but not as sticky as the Tudor Black Bay 58 links. So what this results in is a much more breathable bracelet, especially for me in this weather that I'm experiencing. So I feel that this bracelet is way more comfortable, even though the watch on the whole is heavier than the Black Bay 58. But I feel that this is way more comfortable because it doesn't stick to my wrist as much as the Tudor. This is something that could be a con for you guys as well, especially those who hate that the watch flicks is rotating or rather getting out of the center of your wrist. But for me, the comfort really triumphs over the centering of the wrist. I don't mind that the watch leans to the front a little bit or leans to the back a little bit. What I can't stand is that stickiness that I experience. So moving on to the clasps, Seiko has also won over the Tudor here because it comes with 4 micro adjusts. So I don't need to get into the same explanation that I made for the Tudor. It's definitely going to help you with the fit. One thing that I do not appreciate is the diver's extension here. I don't think that this is necessary for 99% of people who buy these sort of watches. So I think Seiko could have done away with this and it would have fitted the wrist more comfortably and conformed better to the wrist. So besides the bracelet, the movement-wise, the Seiko is also having a 70-hour power reserve. It is the new 6R35 movement. Of course, the difference is that the Seiko movement is not cost certified, but I would say that I've been getting pretty similar sort of figures as compared to my Black Bay 58. I'm getting around +2 to +3 seconds a day for this watch, so that's not bad at all. But as I've pointed out in the review video for this watch, Seiko really has too wide a variance when they ship out these movements in these cases. I think if they narrow that down, it will really help people to be more comfortable in purchasing a Seiko. And that's something that I want to lead into my next point of when you purchase a Seiko, you have some sort of anxiety all the time, especially if you buy online, because Seiko's QC is one of the worst in the industry when it comes to lining things up. So when you buy a Black Bay 58, you do not have to worry about the bezel lining up, the chapter ring lining up if there is a chapter ring. But for Seiko, well, you're praying to all the gods that you know of, you are praying to the Seiko gods, you're praying to your own god, that that the bezel, the chapter ring all lines up. So moving on to the bezel feel, the Seiko has a very nice bezel clicking sensation, but it's 120 click bezel click compared to the Black Bay 58. So this results in a more clicky feel, but it is not as nice and solid as the clicks of the Tudor. So in terms of the backplay, well, there's slight backplay on the Seiko. So that is something that to take note of. If you're very particular about the bezel feel, the bezel action, then the Tudor is definitely the one to go for, right? Everything else is very well done though. I would say that the crown, the winding of the crown is as smooth as the Black Bay 58, but the Seiko does not come with a signed crown. So that is where one of the areas where you can see that costs are cut, right? Anything else to talk about for the Seiko before I have my final conclusions on how these two stack up? I would say that as shown earlier, the Seiko is a larger watch, a thicker watch, so it will feel a lot more heavy on the wrist as compared to the Black Bay 58. Some people like that heft. I have seen posts where people got rid of their Black Bay 58 because they felt it was too light on the wrist and it did not have that presence. So if you're really looking for a watch with wrist presence, then the Seiko is the way to go. But both of the watches are very lovely, and I would say that these two watches can coexist in the same collection, because even though they are very similar in terms of what they want to set out to achieve, you know, this vintage diverish sort of design, the Seiko is more a skin diver design, whereas the Tudor is the more traditional sort of diver case designs that they have had in the past. So both of them, you know, they are similar in many ways as mentioned earlier, but I feel that design language wise, they do stand out from each other. If you look at the color scheme, the Seiko is a lot more subdued, of course with that lovely sunburst dial, but the Tudor on the other hand is very, very pretty on its own accord because of the gilt finish and the red triangle pip on the top, which I absolutely love. I think that red triangle is part of the identity of the Black Bay series. So when, you know, the other colorways don't come with it, I can't get myself on board. But well, you know, color scheme is really to each his own. I would say that case shape for both watches are quite different, even though they both don't have crown guards. So that's something to take note of. The design is really subjective, is really what you prefer, but the Seiko wears heavier, the bracelet is more breathable, and the Tudor would be lighter, but the bracelet is more sticky to that effect. Should you pay a few $1,000s more for the Tudor? Well, the Seiko, of course, the branding is not as strong as Tudor. Tudor is really building up a very strong brand, and in the past nobody cared about Tudor, but now they are really doing awesome things, and people are starting to notice the value of a Tudor watch. So I would say that, of course, branding wise, Tudor wins. Is it worth the extra few $1,000s? That is really up to you. For the Seiko, it is probably the best encapsulation of what a two watch should be. Tudor wise is a bit too expensive to be called that. I would say most people with average salaries would have to save up quite a bit to afford the Tudor. So in conclusion, if you like the design of either watch, you can't go wrong. So if you prefer the Black Bay's design, do not get this watch as a replacement. You will not be satisfied. I've made that mistake many times in the past, and I hope you don't too. So please save up for the Black Bay 58 if you really want this watch. If you like the Seiko's design, however, do not feel that you're getting anything lesser just because you have Seiko on the dial. I guess if the design is of utmost importance, then everything else is definitely way above what you need from a two watch. You have sapphire crystals, you have a solid movement, you have 200 meters of water resistance. So other than the cost certification, this watch is definitely going to do everything that you need it to do. So like I mentioned, I hope this comparison video was useful for you. I feel that both of them can coexist because even though they are pretty much similar in what they stood out, they came out to achieve, but the design language is vastly different, and the feel of the watches on wrist is very different as well. So I hope this video has been helpful to you guys in making the decision of whether to go for the Seiko or the Tudor, or probably perhaps get both like me. And please give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and consider subscribing to my channel. It will really help me out a lot. I am looking forward to the 1000 subscriber mark, and every one of your support really helps the channel grow and really helps me put out new content. And if you're a fellow Singaporean, all the more please support your fellow countrymen by subscribing and liking my videos. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys on the next one.